All right, welcome back to another episode of Zip It Up Pod. Today we are recapping the Nashville race, and we will be previewing Michigan. But we got a bunch of things that we'll cover. We had some NASCAR news drop this past week that we'll talk about here in just a moment to get started. And that's going to lead to us talking about Nashville, where Denny Hamlin won career race number 62 or career win number 62. I'll give some thoughts about the race, and for I think the first time ever on Zip It Up Pod, I will give an updated power rankings from yours truly. And of course, we'll do a Michigan preview. So we'll talk about a bunch of our Hendrick drivers and what to look out for when we go to Michigan this weekend. And Michigan's only going to be Cup Series and trucks this week. O'Reilly is off. So it might feel like an abbreviated episode if we're going to be honest. But at the end of the episode, we will make our predictions. And I'll give you the schedule before we get out of here. Thanks again for joining. If you are sipping on anything right now, go ahead and grab that beverage. I've got two beverages with me today. I just got home from work and I'm knocking out this episode. So I do have a Busch Light in hand, but I'm also still going to continue to work on some water today because it is the 3rd day of June. It is summertime and we need to get, healthy. We need to get fit. So mixing water with beer might not be the way to go about that, but we'll see if it works. Nothing else is working. All right, so here I am getting off track already. Let's go ahead and raise that drink. You know what I'm going to raise my drink to this week is let me preface this. And I don't know if I'm going to say it's the right way. But many years ago, I started doing a thing online every June. So every year June came around. For every day of the month of June, I would post a song so that my friends online would see what I'm listening to that day. But it was always a encouraging song, an uplifting song. I think there's 30 days in the month of June, so probably 20 to 25 of the songs were worship songs or praise songs, something in the Christian genre, and then whatever other songs were included were secular, but also like uplifting and encouraging to anyone listening. So that was something I actually took a lot of pride in and I enjoyed doing because music is, it's the heartbeat of who I am. So, I called it Tunes of June and I stopped doing it a couple years ago when I started school and just haven't really picked it back up since then. But yeah, if you go back several years, if you've been one of my friends, one of my followers on social media, you probably will remember me posting Tunes of June every single year. I don't do it anymore, but I still do have some of those old playlists, so I've been playing those this week in the car. I have all the Spotify playlists made for Tunes of June, so if anyone wants a link to any of those, by all means. I even did one year where it was just only throwback jams, so Tunes of June throwbacks. But anyway, the whole reason behind it was to take 1 month and just kind of bless people with old songs or maybe new songs that they never heard before, and just see if it would encourage anybody and lighten their day. And I had a lot of people that would follow along and listen to the songs and kind of just meditate on them, and used to get some pretty good stories back from it. But my big thing was for that 1 month to be, an encouragement to others. So that shouldn't be just a 1 month thing. Hopefully that's a year round kind of thing. I like to show kindness and show love to others and show respect. And, but that was something that I was known for. Again, I don't do it anymore, but what I do want to raise our drinks to today is just encouragement, because there is a lot of it needed in today's world. And, I don't know if we lean on each other quite enough. Brothers, I'm a big believer in the guys. I've told you that many times. I'm a dude's dude. So, your bros are there to pick you up when you fall. That's what your family is for. And a lot of people in your life become family. So, this is just about picking each other up. So I know that there's people probably listening right now that have maybe had a hard week. And I know that there are a lot of NASCAR fans that are still having a tough time trying to recuperate from what happened last week within the sport. And so I just I want everyone to feel encouraged. I want everyone to know that they are loved, and no matter what it is that you're going through, you are going to be all right. You will be okay. We're all going to pull through. It's, these tests and these trials, we are meant to go through these. Okay. It's what makes us better. It's what makes us stronger. And so, I do have a quick Bible verse I will share with you, and then we'll have a drink, and we'll do this episode. And this is a very familiar Bible verse to everyone. Um, uh, but this is straight from God's word. And so this is the truth, and I want to speak this over everybody that's listening today. But Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." So your future is bright. No matter what you are going through, you can have hope, declares the Lord. Amen and cheers. I ain't gonna lie. My parents are not gonna want to watch this one back. I just read straight from God's word and took a sip of beer. But seriously though, God loves you and I love you. So let's get into it, okay? Really, a big piece of news that happened this past week doesn't really have anything to do with Hendrick Motorsports. While Hendrick Motorsports in the 48 car has been a big topic in the silly season, we are kind of left out this week. We do know going forward that Corey Heim is going to be driving the number 35 Toyota for 2311, and that will begin next year. He'll be full-time Cup Series racing, which means Riley Herbst will be out of that car. And it is believed that Riley Herbst will probably end up with Legacy Motor Club because they are going to be acquiring a third charter. That's just the rumors that many of NASCAR fans know. So if you're following silly season, we have seen this coming. It's just made official this week that Heim to the 35 next year. Herbst will probably get a ride at LMC. And I wanted to say, though, while I believe Corey Heim has definitely earned a spot in the Cup Series, and I think it's a good move for 2311 to bring him on full time. What we've seen this year from Riley Herbst is nothing to be, disappointed in. That kid has really impressed me. I don't talk about him a whole lot, but if you take where he was last season and where he is right now this season, it's like a night and day difference. And he really doesn't have a whole lot to work with. He's still trying to gain experience, and I've just really been impressed with what he's doing. I'll pull up the point standings and see where he's at right now, but he has had really good runs, has flirted with many top 10s this season, it seems. So I hate to see him get booted from his ride. They're just now gaining some momentum and creating, some cohesion within the group. But he is 27th in the points right now, and I don't know exactly where he was last year at this time of the season, but he was probably 32nd or 33rd all season long. So to see this improvement, and really, he's only 20 points behind Austin Dillon in 24th. So he's within striking distance. He's within a really good race of making up a bunch of points and jumping a bunch of spots. And so just wanted to say I'm really impressed, even though he's kind of getting canned from his current ride. I hope wherever he ends up next, hope he continues to grow as a race car driver. I think he'll be pretty good because he has certainly been tested, and now he'll get a refresher, I guess. But that also leads me to believe to talk about. Sorry, I was thinking about how good Riley Herbst has been this week or this year. I was thinking about it this week. Sorry, my mind's all jumbled. But that led me to start thinking about other drivers that have impressed me. And so, Zane Smith came to mind. Zane Smith has looked sharp, especially the last two races. But he's also not been a slouch all season long. Zane Smith is currently 20th in the points. And if I can do quick math correctly, he is 34 points out of a playoff spot. This guy is he is another one that I believe Jordan Bianchi on the Teardown mentioned that Zane Smith is on a lot of people's radars for when his contract is up, which I believe is the end of next season. So I would believe Zane Smith is going to remain in the 38, the rest of this year and the next. But after that, maybe he could get a call up somewhere if one of these older drivers are on their way out. Zane Smith is he's with Ford right now, but he's not someone to look over either. And so really thought it was worth mentioning both of those guys' seasons as well as they are running right now. Really unexpected, to be honest with you. But both are still super young, and we can see them gaining momentum in the trajectory of their careers. So I feel like they're both going to have good long careers in the Cup Series, and I hope so anyway. I hope that that's the case. The second piece of news, which really isn't official at the time of this recording, but probably by the time you're listening, I think we're going to have a new Chase Elliott paint scheme dropped. I did see the Atlanta Braves and Chase Elliott both posted to their stories a few minutes before I started recording, and it looks like a teaser for a fun paint scheme. And this is probably the paint scheme that his foundation is going to be doing the design to drive. So I'm pretty sure he'll be racing it at Atlanta under the lights, which I am planning on attending. And I can't wait to see what car will be running that race. Remember, he won last year in thrilling fashion, and this looks like a fun car that they're going to release for us at 5:00 on Wednesday. So, like I said, by the time you're listening, we're going to have another new diecast to go pre-order. All right. Anywho, let's get into our hot topics coming out of Nashville. Denny Hamlin wins career win number 62. Not really a surprise. He did have to go through a little adversity. So he started on the pole because of the algorithm. He didn't earn the pole, but he started on the pole, and he jumped the start of the race. So that threw him back immediately. He was running last place. Luckily, he had a competition caution help him out. But then he comes back from last to win the race. And as I've shared multiple times, I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan. And of course, I'm rooting against him when he's 3 wide with his teammates Bell and Briscoe. I'm just like, I'd take either one of y'all to get to victory lane. Just don't let Denny do it. And of course, they gave it to him. But that is his second win of the season. And now JGR has broken their tie with Hendrick Motorsports and Spire Motorsports for most wins this season. So now JGR has 3 wins. And of course, HMS and Spire both have 2 each. So with that being said, Denny Hamlin is at the absolute top of his game right now. This is usually when drivers tend to slow down. They don't win as much at his age. I believe he is 45. And he is just getting better, even with the adversity that he's fought through during the off seasons. And those things can a lot of times haunt you during the season. Whatever's loomed over him has not slowed him down at all. And he is hitting his stride as a race car driver. And so I'm going to give my power rankings here in a few minutes. And if you can't tell who's at the top right now in my power rankings, then you might not ever get it. I'm just kidding. I'll tell you in a few minutes. So yeah, one wish that I do have going forward, though, because it is clear that Hamlin is not done winning. I don't believe that was his last one. He does have more to come this season, probably. But his next win is going to tie him with Kyle Busch for 9th all-time on the Cup Series wins list. And so I would hope that he's going to honor Kyle one way or another. Maybe he is going to be very creative and do kind of his own thing to pay his respect to Rowdy Nation. But, this kind of reminds me of when Jeff Gordon tied Dale Earnhardt. And I think it was at Phoenix, and Jeff drove with the number 3 flag out the window. And, Dale Earnhardt Jr. came over after the race and told him how much he appreciated that and said that his dad would have loved that. And so I kind of hope Denny has something like that up his sleeve, planned and ready to go, because he could win anytime now. It could be this week at Michigan, where he is the favorite. It could be several races after that. He could win a bunch in a row here and go on a run. And I'm not really rooting for it to happen, but I know it's coming, and I'm ready, and I know that I want to get emotional, and I want to appreciate whatever gesture he does offer. So I am looking forward to that if the time were to come this weekend. But with that said, let me give you some thoughts on the race in Nashville because this was a very entertaining race. And I did go vote on Jeff Gluck's poll, which I don't do a whole lot of unless I think a race is really bad or if it's really good. Like it really has to stand out for me to go onto Jeff Gluck's Twitter and find that poll and vote on it. But this week, I went and voted yes because I was very entertained by the racing action that we saw. And I know that the drivers talk about not being able to pass once they single file out at Nashville, and that doesn't really seem to be a big issue. Maybe they feel that way, but as someone that was watching all night, I just thought there were plenty of stories that were able to be captured within that race, and it was compelling from start to finish. We had two stage winners that are kind of unusual. Like, yeah, they won before, but you had Allmendinger win the first stage, and then you had Suarez win the second stage, which I know he just won a couple weeks ago. But still, to see some of these guys that don't normally run up front and win stages were able to do that. And there were other comers and goers, though, within the field. And a lot of the guys would stay at the front, like we were mentioning. Zane Smith was one of those guys that had a good run. Allmendinger all night seemed like he was bound for a top five, unfortunately got caught up in a mess. SVG, once again, we have seen his trajectory just increase rapidly because of what he's doing on ovals right now is very impressive. And so to go do that at Nashville, continue his momentum, he seems to be safely in a chase spot right now. And so I was really compelled. I was very intrigued by who was running where all night throughout the race. You know, even some of our Hendrick drivers, I thought were running really good. Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, William Byron was top 10 most of the evening. And it obviously didn't finish good for us. We'll talk about that in a second. But I thought it was an enjoyable race. Obviously, we got to that point where it was caution after caution. These guys were having trouble on the starts. We did have a lot of issues with brake rotors throughout the race. Seemed like Trackhouse were the victims of brake rotors mostly. I believe possibly Larson ran over a rotor late in the race. That's what caused his flat tire and then caused him to spin, which hurt his result that night. But, you know, I really thought Chastain was going to have a great race. He came into the race having a good practice speed-wise, and I was expecting him to race up towards the front, and he had an issue with the rotor. And sorry, I didn't take these notes down, so I'm just kind of saying what comes to mind. I know it's random, but another guy that was running up front all night that needed it and looked good was Ricky Stenhouse. Another week of him being up front with the 47 car, and he salvaged a fourth place finish, which is phenomenal. And great paint scheme to do it into, honoring Rowdy with the NOS throwback. So just, yeah, I really enjoyed Nashville. This track has a home on the Cup schedule, I hope, for many, many years, because whatever package we were running, whatever we were doing on Sunday night was great. And yes, the race took a long time for only a 400-mile race. I'm okay with that too. Let's just maybe push the start up to 6 o'clock. That's what we do for the Southern 500 in Darlington is we start that race at 6 o'clock. So I believe this one was scheduled to start around 7:15-ish. And of course, the rain delay pushed that back even further. So it made for a late Sunday night. But I think that there's also a home and a place for Sunday night racing. I believe Nashville was a great picture of that. Just maybe scoot up the start time a little earlier. Nothing to do with the rain delay. I just think you want to start it a little bit earlier because it is such a long race. Kind of a shorter track, but the laps are difficult and they run longer at Nashville every time we go there. So last thing I want to do with our takeaways from Nashville is I'm going to give my power rankings. I don't recall ever doing this on the pod before, so I figured this would be something cool to do, give my top 10 power rankings. And you know how power rankings work. This is just, who you believe is uh, the best going forward, going to be difficult to beat just by going off of their resume so far this season. So this is not the point standings I'm giving you. This is my opinion of who I believe the top 10 hitters are right now in the NASCAR Cup Series. And I already kind of gave you a number one. It is Denny Hamlin. I know he's only got 2 wins this season, but he has several runner-up finishes, and he is just a threat everywhere we go right now. So he's definitely in the one spot. I haven't seen a better version of Denny Hamlin throughout his entire career. Number 2, I do have Tyler Reddick, and Tyler Reddick has 5 wins this season. So obviously he's going to be high on the list. He had a winless year last year. But I got the idea for doing power rankings after I listened to Dale Jr.'s Dale Jr. download earlier this week. And so he had Reddick down at like 4, 5, or 6 area. And I just think that's way too low for Tyler Reddick. I understand he hasn't led a ton of laps and he hasn't necessarily dominated some of these races he's won, but they've put themselves in positions to capitalize. And they haven't really lost anything. Like, they haven't taken themselves out of many races. I just think they're consistently a top 10 car, and many days they are in the top 5 hunting another win. And so I think he is second in my power rankings right now. Third in the power rankings, I'm going to go Chase Elliott. I think he's definitely been the best Hendrick Motorsports car this year, and he is arguably the best Chevy. And I know the Toyotas are going to be tough to contend with throughout the entire season, but Chevy is going to figure it out. They're starting to, I believe, and Chase has proven that he can take a bad race and make it good. And yeah, as a big fan of Chase Elliott as I am, I will also notice he can take a good race and make it bad. But most of the time, he is up there running consistently. We've noticed this throughout his entire career. And so he belongs in that third spot. I think more wins are on the way for this team this season. And if he can continue to climb the point standings, I think he's going to be a threat throughout the chase. Number 4 in the power rankings, I'm going to go Ryan Blaney. And he is the highest Ford, and I believe the only Ford in my rankings. This is just, we haven't seen it as of recent. Power rankings is kind of like a prisoner of the moment kind of thing. So honestly, if we were to go week by week, Blaney's probably in the 6, 7, 8 spots, because recently we haven't seen the speed that this team started with, and the whole manufacturer Ford just isn't there. But we know the body of work with Blaney, and we know that he is going to contend for some more wins this season. So I got to leave him in that 4 spot. Number 5, I'm going to go Kyle Larson. He continues to, well, no, I'm not going to go there. We just know too much about Kyle Larson. I know he's in a drought right now, and some people want to leave him out of their top 10. That's fine. You can say that all you want. But ultimately, deep down, he is one of the biggest threats on the track every single week, and he is going to break out of that drought. We've seen just about every driver in the history of the sport go through a drought like he is right now. However, we have also seen at Charlotte and Nashville, they still got speed in the car. They can still run up towards the front. And yes, he didn't get the result in Nashville, but he's going to be there more times than not. And so going forward, I feel like Larson, when he gets that next one is going to open up the floodgates, and many more wins will follow. Number 6, I'm going to go Christopher Bell. He has not had quite the season that he hoped for, but we do see it from Toyota. We see it from JGR. He is, I think, their second most talented driver at JGR, and just as an all-around driver, by the way. So I got him 6. I think we're starting to see him gain some momentum, and so, yeah, he's going to be tough going forward, I think. Number 7 is going to be Ty Gibbs. We saw him get his first career win earlier this season, and, of course, he's kind of a beneficiary from the strength of Toyota and JGR this season. and he has knocked off several top 10s, a few top 5s this year. Ty Gibbs has certainly impressed this year, and I got him in the 7 hole. Right behind him, number 8, is going to be another guy that also has his first career win earlier this season, Carson Hocevar, who I have as the 3rd-ranked Chevy right now, and the kid just continues to wow us and doesn't seem to slow down. So I got Hocevar at 8. Number 9 is going to be William Byron. And this is mainly for the belief that I have in this team going forward. I think that they are going to strike very soon, and they'll get things going in the right direction. What we've seen up to this point, certainly, you can make a case for him being well outside of the top 10. But I just think we know too much about this 24 car. This team, this crew chief and driver combination are too good to just kind of lay to the side. And yeah, they're not where we want them in the points right now. But watch out, because they can strike at any moment, just like Kyle Larson can. And then number 10, rounding out my power rankings, is SVG. This guy we know is going to dominate at the road courses, but we are starting to see his ovals come together for him. And man, yeah, I don't know if I would have him in a top 10 spot every single week after every single race. There's other guys that we are leaving off this list, but consistently, SVG is showing a lot of great maturity as an oval racer, and he's only getting better. So I think going forward, that's a big reason he's on this list, is because he is a threat moving forward. He's going to break through at some point. It seems inevitable. And man, Cat is good behind the wheel. So that's my power rankings. Figured I'd do that for you. I know we're getting a little long-winded here in this episode. So I am going to go over each of our Hendrick drivers and how they did at Nashville, and then we'll do a Michigan preview, okay? So let's start with the guy that had the best finish, and that was Chase Elliott. He started 29th at Nashville. Again, we did not get to qualify, so all of the starting positions are coming off of the algorithm. But Chase started 29th, and stage 1, finished 4th. Didn't score stage points in stage 2, but then he finished 7th for the race. And there's been a little controversy in that. FanDuel, I think, has said he finished 5th. I think right after the race, Prime was telling us he finished 5th. But it looks like, according to NASCAR, he gets rewarded with a 7th place finish. He did wreck at the line, so that's kind of what created the controversy here. It was difficult to figure out who finished where, because it was a big old pack of cars right there. But I do like what the team did early in this race. Towards the end of stage 1, we got track position, and we were able to keep it throughout the race. So very encouraged by what I saw from this team and their execution on Sunday evening. Next is Kyle Larson. He started 5th, and then stage 1, he finished 2nd to AJ Allmendinger. Stage 2, he did not score any stage points, and then he was running about 6th or so with a couple laps to go. Ultimately finished 23rd, down 1 lap. He drove a good race, but that blown tire at the end caused him to spin. That's what we're going to say anyway. And so that, it hurt a good finish, which was kind of badly needed for this team. We want to get them into contention heading into the chase. So this hurts that, but very encouraged by the way that they performed on Sunday. William Byron started 8th, and then stage 1, he finished 7th. Stage 2, he finished 7th, and then ultimately finishes 30th, down 69 laps. Nice. He was involved in an accident, and this has just been the story of the season here for the 24 team. Seems like when he finally does have a good run, something's going to screw it up. But we just haven't seen enough good runs. Like I said, I do believe that is coming. And I'm obviously biased. I'm a 24 guy always, and I'm a Hendrick guy. So I have the utmost confidence that they will right the ship. But it just seems like every time they're on the verge of having any kind of positive day, something happens. And so that was the story on Sunday evening. And then Alex Bowman started 19th, and no stage points in stage 1, but stage 2, he did finish 2nd to Daniel Suarez, but he also got caught up in another accident and went on to finish 33rd. down 97 laps, and this is also another story of his season. We had some good things going. He was fortunate enough on Sunday to score some stage points there in stage 2, but that was just about it, though. When they have a good thing going, something happens. So we do have a new Bowman scheme. I forgot to mention this one. It looks like Ally has completely changed the paint scheme that Bowman has been running, and now they have a new scheme, I believe, will be his primary the rest of the season. And it has a bunch of shades of black and neon yellow, which I love. But I was really in love with that paint scheme he's been running for Ally this year. So I hate to see that one go. And this is a good replacement. I don't think it's as good as the first one we had. It had teal and silver with that purple. I thought it looked sharp. I bought a shirt immediately. Now they're switching up the paint scheme, and hopefully that dust off the mojo and we get things going in the right direction as well. But Nashville, for Hendrick Motorsports as a whole, as a team, it was just story of the season again. We ran second in both stages to guys that normally don't win a bunch of stages, and nobody really could get a good result except for Chase Elliott. And that just seems like that's how it's gone all season long. All right, in the O'Reilly race, Corey Day started third, and then stage 1, he finished second. Stage 2, he finished sixth, and then he finished sixth for the race. So another great points day for Corey Day. Continues to do his thing and didn't mess anything up like all of our Cup regulars, it seems. And then Kyle Larson started sixth, and he finished stage 1 in fifth, finished stage 2 in ninth, and then he finished eighth for the race. It just was never a contender. So that is not a good race for Kyle Larson standards, if we're going to be honest. Okay, let's update you on the current driver standings. All right, beginning with the Cup Series, Chase Elliott is fourth in the points. He's minus 197 to the points leader, Tyler Reddick. Kyle Larson is sixth in the points. He's minus 248. William Byron is 11th in the points. He's minus 305. And then Alex Bowman is 32nd in the points, minus 497 to the points leader. But we are watching how close he can get to the 16th and final chase position. So right now he is minus 146 to 16th place, which means on average he needs to make up 12.2 points per week, which is very similar to where he was last week. I think he needed to make up 12 points. So he didn't really help himself this week, and he really didn't hurt himself a whole lot, though. So good thing we got those stage points. And then in the O'Reilly series, Corey Day is third in the points. He's minus 196 to the points leader, Justin Allgaier. And with that, we get into our Michigan preview. I'm going to obviously, if you've listened, I'm going to give you each of the stats from our drivers in their careers at Michigan. This week, these numbers come from driveraverages.com, so I did my own little research here, all right? Kyle Larson has 17 starts at Michigan. That includes 3 wins, 8 top 5s, 10 top 10s. He's led 263 laps, and his average finish is 11.9. He's one of the strongest tracks for Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott has 15 starts at Michigan, and that includes no wins, but he has 3 top 5s, 10 top 10s. He's led 192 laps at Michigan, and then his average finish is 10.8. William Byron has 11 starts at Michigan, which includes no wins, but he's got 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and he's led 138 laps. His average finish is 16.4. And then Alex Bowman has 16 starts at Michigan, which includes no wins and no top 5s, but he's got 3 top 10s. He's led 19 laps, and his average finish is 25.1. So then I went on to Hard Rock and got your betting lines for this weekend's race. The favorite to win the race is Denny Hamlin. He is plus 350. Kyle Larson is plus 900. Ooh, goodness. Chase Elliott is plus 1,400. William Byron is plus 1,600. And Alex Bowman is plus 6,000. to win this race on Sunday. A couple notables that I have for you. Christopher Bell is plus 450. He is the second highest odds. Tyler Reddick is plus 600. He's the third highest odds. And of course, he's visited Victory Lane a bunch of times this year. Ryan Blaney is plus 1,600 to win the race. He is the highest Ford in the field, per usual. All right. With that being said, I'm going to give you three predictions to win this race, and then I'll give you the schedule, and that will be our episode. So let's first start with our Hendrick winner. If I got to go with our boys, I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. This is his, I do think it is his strongest track. So I think that he has the best chance of representing us in Victory Lane this week. And this track comes at a great time for the 5 team. We were just talking about the drought that they're in. So they badly need a dub. And Michigan could be the perfect place, a place that they are very familiar with running well at. I really hope we see him get back to Victory Lane. My non-Hendrick pick is going to be Briscoe, and that's because Michigan screams for speed, and I do think Briscoe has some of the best speed in the field. We really haven't seen it a whole lot this season like we did last. Last year he won Pocono, he won Indy, places you have got to go fast at. Michigan's one of those tracks you need to go fast at in order to win. And so it would obviously make a lot of sense to pick Hamlin. And I would not be surprised. No one would. I don't want to pick Bell just because I haven't seen them finish it off in a little while as well. He just seems to get out of the car frustrated every single week. At some point, I feel like that's going to take a toll on you and end up going in the wrong direction. I could be very wrong about that. But Chase Briscoe always seems very level-headed. And like I said, I think not only does Toyota have speed, but Briscoe seems to get speed out of his cars. He's coming off a third-place finish at Nashville, so I think that this is probably one of those tracks that team has circled on their calendar. And we'll see if they can get it into Victory Lane on Sunday. But my long shot this week is I'm having a hard time doing this, but I'm going to go Brad Keselowski because we have seen we've seen him win at Michigan before. And, if Ford could get it going, I feel like Keselowski is going to be, somewhat a threat. If they can find some speed this week, Brad's going to be good. He's good at fast tracks too, just like I was talking about Briscoe. So I think his odds are plus 4,000. Obviously, that's not anything to go out there and be overly confident about. But I think if they put together a good race, he might have a shot. He at least, I think, could be the best Ford in the field this week for what it's worth. So that's my predictions. That's our Michigan preview. That's our episode. Like I mentioned, there will only be 2 races this week. Man, I'm so over this episode. I have fumbled over my words continuously, and it's getting old at this point. So time to wrap it up, Coz. 2 races to watch this week, okay? First, we got the trucks on Saturday at 1:30. That will be on FS1. Afternoon race for the trucks. Seems a little odd, but that's what they're doing. The O'Reilly Series is off this week, and then the Cup Series is on Sunday at 3 o'clock, and that will be on Prime. So that's all I got for you this week. Hope you are doing well. However you're enjoying your NASCAR season, we are in June. This is summer. This is when the season tends to draw out. It gets long. It feels long sometimes. It feels hot everywhere we go. Surprisingly, Central Florida is getting a little bit of a cool breeze this week, and today was nice. So I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Michigan, but NASCAR has been battling some precipitation the past few weeks everywhere we go. Hopefully that's not an issue, and hopefully we can pull through and make our season a little bit more enjoyable with a big dub. So y'all have yourselves a good weekend, and I'll see you next week.